use your skill sets to do good. And it's always doing good and serving people and giving back is always a two-way street, that you receive just as much when you give as when you get.
Are you a working professional but struggling to balance the workload of your career, family, obligations, and preparing for your financial future? If so, this podcast is for you. You've spent years learning your craft, and now it's time to focus on your financial future. This podcast will teach you what you need to retire wealthy and happy. Let's dive in.
Good morning, and welcome to the Retire Wealthy and Happy podcast. Today, Earl, we have the amazing Tyler Jensen. He's set up systems and processes to flip houses and has done amazing. Good morning, Tyler.
Good morning.
So, Tyler, you and I have known each other for a while. Probably longer that you've known Roger, but I've seen you speak at several RIA events. I know that you do a whole ton of flipping houses. We're curious to see what else it is that you do. I know that that's what you're known for. Roger and I both done a little bit of it. I have done less and less. I think Roger still continues to flip a few houses, but we're interested to hear a little bit about how you got started flipping houses and what maybe a little bit about what you see in the future for that.
All right, let's take you back then, where I got started. I started flipping houses in 2008. So after high school, I went and served a mission for my church, and then I came back and started school. So my freshman year of college, I knew that I had to make money. The plan was to go get a college education, right, like most of us, and work my way up the corporate ladder and become a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. That was the expectation going into school, right? And I needed a way to pay for my education. I grew up broke. My parents didn't have a lot of money, so paying for my schooling wasn't really an option. So I had to figure it out on my own. I was kind of left to my own resources to figure out how to pay for school. So I knew that flipping houses was always a good way to make income. I knew that real estate was a good way to make a good injection of cash and to help me pay for school. So I started in 2008. I know, crazy time to start. Everyone always says that, 2008, you started at the worst time. For me, it was the best time because I didn't know any better. And so 2008 was a great experience for me. We did a lot of short sales and foreclosures. We would send out letters to notice of defaults when they were abundant, and we started getting deals that way. And I started flipping my own houses. So I would do everything. I started watching 1 million hours of YouTube and flipping my own houses. I would do everything from electrical work to laying tile to all of that stuff. And I realized really quickly that I was probably making less money than I could have been working at McDonald's, because I would spend hours and hours. It would take me forever. I wasn't good at it, but it was a good learning curve. And so that's how I started flipping houses, was doing that. And then over time, I still climbed. I got a college education. I kind of climbed the corporate ladder, and really, I realized that wasn't the career path that I thought that I wanted. And so I was making really good money in corporate America, but I was working 80 hours a week, and I would get 2 weeks of PTO, if you will, 2 weeks of vacation. And when I was on vacation, I was still working. So I really didn't even get a real vacation. So I was trading time for money. And it just became to this point that it wasn't worth it. So the whole time while I was climbing that corporate ladder, I was still involved in real estate. I would do 1 or 2 deals here and there. I would hire a general contractor to manage the flips for me. I would just find the deal and raise capital and do all that stuff. So that's kind of the meager beginnings, I guess, is where I started flipping houses. Is I didn't know what I didn't know. And I knew that it was a good way to help me pay for a college education. So after college, I became a COO. I was working my brains out. It was ruining my marriage, and I never saw my kids, and I hated the corporate America life. And so I kind of transitioned full time. I told my wife, I came home, we sold 2 houses in the same week, just happenstance. And I said, hey, we have enough runway that we can live for a little bit. We have 6 months of runway that we can live and survive and be okay. And if it fails, then great, I'll go back to corporate America. I'm highly educated. I could find another job. But she said, okay. And that was the journey that we started flipping houses full time. I think that was about 6 years ago for me. And I haven't looked back since. And we just got really dialed in at what my strengths were. I had to really identify what I was really good at. And it was systems and processes and people. People were my superpower. I was really good at building teams and creating synergy. And that was the path that kind of drew me into flipping houses, is that I understood manufacturing, which was my background. I was a COO for a manufacturing company. So I understood, how do you take things from A to B as efficiently as possible? And I'm so blessed to have that background, because I could just take it into flipping houses. And how do we make flipping houses really efficient and flip them in 7 days or less? And that's kind of what we really dove into. I got really laser focused. I wasn't worried about wholesaling or anything else. I just wanted to be the best house flipper in the country. And I feel like I worked really hard on that, and I achieved a lot of really good accolades and success in flipping houses. And we still continue to flip a lot of houses today. So that's kind of the past. And now transitioning into the future, I think that there's always a need for guys like us that can go in and help distressed sellers with a problem with their real estate, whether it be a hoarder house, they inherited grandma's house, whatever it is. Houses aren't getting newer. They're always depreciating. They're always getting older, right? And so people like us need to come in and fix these houses up and provide a good source for the community to find these good houses that are in good shape and good condition. So does that answer your question? You want me to elaborate more on future?
Absolutely. You're known for a 7-day flip, right? Tell us a little bit about that. What does that entail?
Yeah. So it first started, our first 7-day flip was 2018, I want to say. And I was sick and tired, just like everybody, all the other house flippers that you hear, is the 3 metrics that we always have to live and die by is time, quality, and budget. And every single flip I was doing, it would take us 6 months to flip a house, and I hated that. We would always go over budget, and our quality would always suck. And so I needed a place, a vacuum, if you will, that I could control those 3 things. If I could control the time, if I can control the budget, and I can control the quality of the product that we're putting out, then I felt like I would win at flipping houses. So I kind of drew this idea out into the world. I had a project manager at that time. We were flipping, 30 houses a year, something like that. So I had a project manager, and I was like, hey man, I'm sick of all these rehabs. We're not making any money. We're spending way too much time on them. What would it look like to do a flip in 7 days? I want it to be on time. I need it to be on budget, and we still have to put out a good quality work. And he said, that's impossible. You can't flip a house in 7 days. And several other people that I asked said, yeah, you can't do that. And so I said, oh, well, I'm going to prove that you can. What would it take? I started the conversation of what would it take to flip a house in 7 days? Well, you'd have to have all the materials. Okay, we could figure that out. We could manage all the materials and have them on site. You'd have to have this many people. Well, how many people would it take? And what would those people have to do? And we started there. And then we said, okay, well, we don't want them to leave for lunch because we know that they're going to spend 2 hours smoking and BSing and doing all that other stuff that they do when they leave for lunch. So how can we control that? And so we just dove down really deep into the whole process of flipping a house. And we made it really granular. We knew, well, what if this guy doesn't show up? And what happens if this thing doesn't happen? And we came in with a really good plan. And the first 7-day flip that we did was a $45,000 rehab. And we did it in 6 days. We had it so well planned that the execution was really, really simple. We had a great design board. We had a great Gantt chart that we could control the timeline. We knew where every single person was going to be at what time. We controlled lunches. We had a U-Haul truck that had all the materials. We just really got it really granular and looked at the whole process. And we planned on doing it in 7 days, and we finished in 6. So the last day we had a barbecue, like we just kind of hung out, and it was a really cool experience for me. I was hoping it would be a science project and it would light on fire and collapse and we could put it back together, right? But that's not what happened. It actually worked out so well that we said, hey, we could continue to do this. And how do we implement this into our business as we need to? Not every house is a 7-day flip, right? But the systems and the processes that we use, we can control that time, budget, quality a lot more than we could have in the past without doing a 7-day flip. So that's kind of where it all started. It was just this idea of a science project that I felt like if I can break it, then I can fix it. And we ended up doing it so well that we're like, hey, this is really a cool thing that we can implement. And so I've done several 7-day flips. We flipped 4 houses in 7 days. The same week COVID happened. It was crazy. We're flipping 4 houses in a week. We filmed the whole thing. It was awesome. And we've done that over 30 different times. We've flipped a house in 7 days or less. Every year for Christmas, we donate a house to a single mom, a rehab. Not last Christmas, but the one before that, we did a $60,000 rehab in 6 days. And we donated it all to the single mom. And it was a really cool experience that we sent them on vacation for a week, kind of this extreme home makeover, if you will. That wasn't the intention of doing that. It was more to just, how do we help this family and how do we use our skill set to do that? But yeah, it's been a great tool. So that's why we've doubled down on 7-day flips, and we've just gotten really efficient at flipping houses.
It's an interesting concept that years ago, I worked for one of the largest home builders in the state here. And I had come out of property management. I built homes as a kid, but I had no idea the process that it took to supervise a house from start to finish. And I sat down, I took what I learned in economics and my management classes in college, and I basically put together a spreadsheet that said, all right, we start with, they hand you the plans and you go stake out the lot. Then you call your excavator as you're driving out there, and so on and so forth. And I put a time, it's going to take a day to dig the foundation. It's going to take the next day for them to come in and pour the footings, and then they can come in the next day. And I put those all in a time sheet. And I was amazed. At the time, the other guys that were doing it were taking, probably 6 months to build a house from start to finish. And I figured out I could do it in 40 days from start to finish. Awesome. They handed me a set of plans, and I don't think I ever did one that took longer than 60 days. So it's amazing when you set your mind to be able, let's just figure out the matrix of what it takes to do this and how efficient you can become. That's absolutely fascinating. That I would have never thought you could do a house in 7 days, by the way.
Yeah, a lot of people told me that you couldn't, right? And some people said you probably couldn't flip a house or build a house in 40 days either.
Yeah.
Right. And when you really break it down, we really simplified it. We probably oversimplified it. That the same thing that you did. We had a Gantt chart that said, hey, day one, this is everything that has to happen. And then who's in charge of doing all of those things? And once we had that system, it was really, really easy to follow. And the second 7-day flip that we did, we changed the plan midstream, right? We're on day 3 or day 2 or something, and we changed it. We changed one thing. We're like, hey, we're not going to do this thing on the backsplash. And it derailed the whole 7-day flip because we changed the plan. So the first 7-day flip, we got really cocky and arrogant and said, hey, we did this thing in 6 days. And the second one, we tried it, and it did blow apart because we changed the plan, and then it domino affected. Everything else downline took longer, and it changed the plan because we had this plan and we threw an audible and it changed it. So we're on at midnight on the 7th day trying to get this thing done, right? It was we're having a barbecue on the 7th day. It was, we changed the plan and we paid for it later. So that was a good learning experience as well, that we're like, hey, we had a plan. We have to stick to this plan. And a lot of flippers that get into this business, they don't have that plan, like what you're saying. And same with home builders. They just kind of, the electrician will be here in 2 weeks. So we'll just let it sit for 2 weeks. That costs money, whether you're building houses or whether you're flipping houses. Time is the silent killer of all these deals, especially if you're in a turning market like we are now. Time will kill your deal. And so you've got to be able to pay attention to that for sure. So I totally agree with what you said. And it was a smart move on your part to be able to plan that out.
It was a desperation move. I was stuck trying to figure out how I was going to survive with all these guys that had been doing this for 15, 20 years. And I was completely new to the situation. So,
yeah, well, you got it figured out. That's awesome.
Roger, you're on mute, bud.
Sorry.
There we go.
How many guys do you average on a job at the same time?
If it's a 7-day flip?
Yes.
We did the first one with 16 guys all in. So 16 guys, and I made a rule that we would not have any overtime. So we could only work from 8 to 5. So we had to figure it out within that time constraint. So I didn't want anyone working. It was not this, we're going to work 24 hours thing. Like, I wanted it to be within the working hours. So we had to figure it out. But it's ranged anywhere from, on that one we did for the Christmas house, for the single mom, we probably had 60 different people show up throughout the week. And some people were very unskilled and just moved furniture out of the house, and other people were hanging cabinets and doing some more skilled stuff. So it really just depends on the scope of work and what needed to be done.
You know what's amazing about this? I tell a story about how much it costs to do a bathroom, and you figure out all the costs of the materials, and then you go to the contractor and you say, how many days? And they always say 2. All right, how many guys are you going to have there? And I always tell people, if they say more than 2 days, you know that they're lying to you, because you can't fit more than 2 guys in a bathroom to work on it, right? Somebody's outside smoking on a constant basis all day long. But I don't understand how. I mean, I can't even fathom how you can get that many guys in a house, and then they're not just pushing each other around. So that's quite an accomplishment.
That's the biggest challenge, is to not get them to punch each other in the face. So if you can do that and they can work together, then it's good. So,
I learned a long time ago, I would never bring my plumber and they're doing the sub-rough plumbing and the sub-rough furnace heating and air conditioning. If you got those 2 guys there on the same day, you were going to have a fist fight.
Sure. And we had to, hey, this is the goal. We're all working together, right? This is a team sport. It's not an individual thing. We're trying to all reach the same thing at the end of the day. And that took some convincing, for sure, to get people to all show up at the same time and to work well with each other.
Very cool, man.
So when you say that nobody leaves for lunch, what do you do? Do you buy lunch, or do you tell them to bring a stacked lunch?
So on a 7-day flip, we ran the cost. So take 16 guys times $30 an hour or $20 an hour. And you think about the cost, the expense of them going to lunch, right? It's not an hour lunch. We all know that. They're going to go to lunch somewhere. They're going to eat. They're going to BS and smoke and do all the things. And then they'll come back and you're an hour and a half, 2 hours. So we did the math on it, that it was cheaper for us to have lunch catered and bring lunch every single day, as far as opportunity cost and time lost, right? We could eat lunch in 20 minutes when I had it there, and no one wanted to mess around. There was nothing else to do but work. So we ran all this cost analysis on what it would cost us to let them go to lunch, and then also to just cater lunch. And we saved like $3,000 in hourly wages, if you will, by bringing lunch. And so that was just one of those things that we just looked at as part of, it was a small part of that system, that we needed guys there. If we weren't going to do any overtime, we needed them to be working 8 to 9 hours a day. And like, we had a porta potty there, same reason. We didn't want people leaving the job site to go to the bathroom and come back. It was just wasted time. And so we really dialed it in really tight to look at that stuff, the cost analysis. And another easy example of that is the U-Haul truck that we had. We stacked it by day, so it would be really easy for people to find what they needed. So day one was at the very back of the truck. So when we opened the truck, here's everything you need for day one. And then day 2, and then day 3, and then appliances and all the other things were at the front of the truck. So it was really easy. We didn't have to dig through the truck. We organized it really, really well, that it made sense to just use that as a system. So again, we probably way overdid that rehab, and we probably way overthought it, but all the cost savings, we didn't have to, like, how much does it cost you to send a contractor to Home Depot? They're going to be there for 2 hours. They're going to go down the tool aisle and look at all the tools. They're going to take 15 minutes. They're going to do, right? That's expensive. We banned Home Depot runs on a 7-day flip. We said, Tyler's the only one that can go to Home Depot, because I was the least skilled out of everybody, right? And so I was the only one that could go to Home Depot. And so they would write a list. I would go to Home Depot and I would come back, and everyone was still working, right? We looked at all of that stuff when we were flipping a house in 7 days. Does that happen on every flip? No. I wish we could give lunch and people would work all the time. And we know that that's not possible. But when we created that environment, that's why we were so successful, is because we had it really dialed in.
I'm just going to comment. It sounds like you spent 14 days figuring out how to do a flip in 7 days.
Exactly. We planned it for months, and we had no idea what it would look like, right? And then we finally found the first house, and we bought it on a Thursday. And we closed on a Thursday, and I said, "This is the house. We're going to do it." And we had already had the idea and the plan and the system. We just didn't know what house it was going to be. So we planned it from Thursday through the weekend. We started on Monday, and from keys to contract. So by the time we had bought the house to when it went under contract was 14 days. But it was because we had this plan all ready to go. And then once we had done it, we could repeat it and do it again. But yeah, it definitely, it was a 6-month flip, the first one, right? But we executed it in 7.
That's awesome.
It's still fascinating. So
yeah, right. But we had to think through it. We had no idea how to do it, right? There was no script on how to flip a house in 7 days. So we had to think through Home Depot runs. That was a real issue that could have derailed that project. So we thought about all of those things. And then when we were ready to execute, we just went and executed on the plan. So it made it a lot easier to flip a house in 7 days because we already knew exactly what needed to be done.
So do you take the U-Haul truck to RC Willey, because Home Depot doesn't stock a lot of their appliances, and then go to Home Depot for all your supplies, or how do you work that one?
Yeah, so we actually have Home Depot will store appliances for us. So we do so many houses that they keep 10 suites in stock for us. And so that's just building relationships with Home Depot and other suppliers that they'll keep stuff for us because they know that we're going to turn them. And they inventory them for us. They keep them on their warehouse. So just a relationship thing. And if you're just starting real estate, that will come. But those relationships are really important to the success of your business.
So, Roger, did you hear what he just said? Next time we need some appliances and we're a little short.
Hi, my name's Tyler Jensen.
Yeah, there we go.
Let me know. We have a pro rep. And so we spend so much money at Home Depot that we just call our rep and she takes care of all of it. So,
yeah,
but that took time. That took, 10 plus years to get there.
We've talked about that and we've gone down that road. We've talked to the Home Depot person that's the rep for all the national RIA. Mm-hmm. And we've asked, who do we talk to? What do we do? I've asked reps at stores, but we just haven't gotten to that point. But now I know it's possible. We're definitely going to sum that up in a couple of cities like here and Albuquerque.
Yeah, for sure. It's awesome. And they want your business. That's their job as the pro department, is to find pros that they can help. And so now we've simplified the process. My guys can put together an order. They'll text it to our pro rep. They'll have it pulled in the morning. And my guys don't have to waste any time going to Home Depot. It's already pulled. They get on the app on their phone and they can walk through the job site and put an order together. They send it to the pro rep. They'll pull it. And then they just go pick it up in the morning. There's zero time wasted at Home Depot now, which is great, right? That's an expense that we're saving by not having them at Home Depot for 3 hours.
Well, Roger, one of the things I'm learning here, and we're starting to incorporate this a little bit, but we should be buying all of the supplies ourselves instead of what we've been doing in the past is hiring a contractor, paying them to go buy the supplies and stuff like that. And at least if we do it, we will at least get the benefit of the discount, right? You buy so much, we'll get the discount, but I think we can control a lot of other things by getting people to do just labor only, and then we buy the supplies. So
yeah,
go ahead.
As a contractor, it mitigates one of your expenses, so you have less risk because you don't have to control that. You don't have to try and pad it and put in a contingency. If you're not going to be paying for materials.
Yeah, for sure. And I've done it both ways, and I still do it both ways. I have some GCs that prefer to get their own materials, and then I have some GCs that prefer us to buy the materials. And so it just really depends on your relationship with them. But we make it really simple. I like buying materials because we save a lot more money, and I can control it. So we do text to confirm at Home Depot, and you can get you can see everything that's on there. So if they buy a Snickers bar, I could see it. And I'll be like, hey, appreciate all you're doing. Go ahead and have lunch on me. That's Snickers. You deserve it, man. You've been doing a great job. But they pay attention, right? You do that one time and they know that you're watching. And we use a lot of ninja tricks with Home Depot, right? We always have an open bid room. We have the national RIA 2% discount. We use a cashback credit card to do that. So now we're getting another 2% back. We're using, you get the rewards, the perks, which adds up as well. They just changed it last year to $1 million you can spend at Home Depot and still get perks. Yeah, so we save an average of 12 to 14% on materials off the shelf price because we're organized, and we use a lot of those ninja tricks, right, to be able to save that cash. So I like buying materials. I like the control of it, but I'm okay if other GCs buy the materials as well and they get the perks, right? I don't care either way, but.
Yeah, I'd like to see your gift card return for spending 2%.
Yeah. For
I
the
just
RIA,
got mine in the mail yesterday.
You get a gift card?
Yeah, did you get yours?
Oh, we get a check. So if you're above $1,000, they write you a check. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we spend a lot of money at Home Depot, but the perks are awesome, right? And then you can use it you use the perks to buy new tools or lawnmowers or whatever you want. And then you get the cash back as well that you can put back into your business. It'll pay for my family to go on vacation. It'll buy, right? Like a lot of that stuff that is pretty cool to get back. So
cool.
Ninja tricks, right? Yeah. But it's any process, and like you want to talk about systems and processes. It's taking each part of your business and how do you make it better? How do you make going to Home Depot better? By not having your contractor spend 3 hours there. Could I do a text to confirm? Can I control the materials better? Can I get a pro rep that will help me save time and pull the order for me? That's one little system in our business. But if you look at your company and your business on, hey, we're going to focus on one thing. It's acquisitions, or it's property management, or it's doing rehabs faster, right? Or it's going to Home Depot. If you take those, that's what really scaling your business is dialing in those systems and processes. Who's the right people? I don't have to pay Home Depot for their pro rep. That's a free thing to me, but it saves me a ton of time. So what are those kind of things that you can implement in your business that you do it one system at a time? Okay, I'm going to focus all in on acquisitions. We're going to get really good at acquisitions. We're going to record the appointment. We're going to make sure we ask the right questions. We're going to do all of those things, right? And now you perfect that system and then you move on to the next one. Now we're going to focus in on rehabbing. What is all the things that need to happen in a rehab? And then if you're a wholesaler, you need to do dispositions, right? How can we perfect disposing of these assets? And if you can do that, that's been the success of growing my business, is being able to just look at all those systems and find the right people and the right process that I don't have to manage it. You talk about like hands off. I'm not going to Home Depot. I'm not texting the pro rep. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I have the right people and the right system in place that I don't have to go to Home Depot 47 times every day, which before that's where I started, right? I was going to Home Depot for every little screw that I would need. And you just have to work your way to not doing that and sit in the owner's box and work on your business instead of working in your business, going to Home Depot.
Hey, Tyler, I'm curious. The interest rates went up, probably 6 months ago. We started a pretty steep increase in interest rates, and I know it caught a lot of flippers off guard. How have you guys been able to work your way through that?
Yeah, so it caught us off guard as well, right? We were going from selling a house in 6 days last summer to now you're at 60 days. And luckily we bought a lot of these properties well. We bought them right. Some we didn't. And I'll be the first to admit that we did not buy some of these. We were just buying churning deals. And so our thing now is, how do we get rid of these bad deals? And how do we start resetting the inventory with good deals? And I think that's the mentality of a lot of flippers, of people that I've talked to, is, hey, it caught us off guard. We've got to liquidate. We've got to get rid of some of these assets. We know we're going to take a hit on it, but now we've got to start and change our buy box. We adapted too well to that feast and that boom, that we're just buying deals. If it looked like a house, we knew we could make money on it. So we would buy these bad deals and then we would make money. And it showed a lot of these beginning flippers this false sense of good business practice. So they were getting into business, they were making money, the market was supporting them, right? They were getting high appreciation, and they're all out of business now because those basic fundamentals of controlling your time, budget, quality didn't really matter. If you took too long on a flip a year ago, you were making money. It was beneficial for you to take too long to flip a house. That's where you get burned, and people don't have their good fundamentals down. That those are the people that are going to go out of business because they weren't controlling those three metrics. They did poor quality. They can't sell the house now. It's sitting on the market. They went over budget, and now you're in a depreciating market. So for us, it's just kind of blocking and tackling, getting back to the fundamentals. What are we really good at? How do we control those three things? And how do we just be more conservative and buy a better deal? So we're still in the process. We still have a few properties that we're trying to just offload that we probably shouldn't have bought. But now it was a good slap across the face and a good wake up call to us that, hey, get back to your true business. What is your buy box? What deals should you be buying? And it was good for us. It was a good wake up call to say, hey, we drifted a little bit. We got kind of greedy and we were in this feast mode that was really unrealistic, this hyper appreciation market. And now we just need to get back to a more normalized market. Houses are going to sit longer. Are we accounting for those costs? And just really dialing in that blocking and tackling, right? Those basic fundamentals of good core business strategy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. A lot of flippers are just completely out of the game right now, and they're behind the eight ball and they're facing bankruptcy and all sorts of things. What are you working on right now? How many flips do you got going? How many houses do you have? And are they all single family?
No, not all single family. So we have a lot of multiple units. So I have a 12-plex in Virginia that is on the market right now that we're turning. We just flipped. So that's a good, and we can always keep that if we wanted to refinance out of it. We've got an 11-plex up in Ogden that is doing really well. We converted that into midterm rentals, traveling nurses, lifties, people like construction workers, stuff like that. And that's performing really well. We've got a 5-plex. And I want to talk about this 5-plex when we go, maybe we can transition into this a little bit, and talk about the 5-plex and how it is going to create wealth for me long-term. So don't let me forget about that. We probably have 19 or 20 houses. Probably 5 of those are bad ones that we just need to get rid of and offload. The others we're going to be okay. We'll make some money on. It won't be as what we thought we would make money on, but yeah. So that's kind of, we're still turning a lot of properties. We're still moving a lot of inventory. We still have a lot of houses on the market that are under contract or being sold. We just have a good pipeline. But we never stopped buying. That was the biggest thing, is that we kept buying. We just knew that we had to buy better. And so the deals are taking longer to buy because we're being a lot more conservative. We're not just pulling the trigger on everything that we see and, hey, we can make 25 grand on this, let's do it, right? We've kind of changed that buy box to really make sure that we're dialed in, that we're being conservative, that we're going to make money, that we can turn these efficiently. But yeah, that answers your question, I guess. Yeah. So we're still doing a lot of deals. We're still moving a lot of properties, but we don't just focus on the single family stuff. That's all good and it works really well for us. That's kind of our bread and butter. But to the point of this podcast, right, is to retire wealthy. And we knew that it's very transactional to do these types of flips. There's no passive income, if you will, unless you're keeping them for rentals. You're trying to burr out of them. It's really hard to do that in Utah. You don't get the good cash flow that you do elsewhere outside of the state. But yeah, so we're kind of just doing both, right? We're getting that active income of flipping houses, and then we're also putting it into some passive investments as well.
What are you looking to do in the future, and circle back with that 5-plex?
Yeah, let's. You said you want to take a second and come back around to that 5-plex. Tell us a little bit about how that's going to help you in the future.
Yeah, so that's a really good strategic play. That flipping houses is great, and it's a good way to inject cash and a good amount of cash into your treasure chest. But what do you do once it's in your treasure chest? How do you deploy it so it starts working for you? And this fiveplex is a great example of that. So this fiveplex it's out in Virginia. It's on a ski resort, and we just thought we would Airbnb it out. And so we said, hey, look, we're going to just Airbnb this thing out. We spent, I don't know, $200,000 in rehab on this thing. And it's the only fiveplex in the whole community. So multifamilies aren't allowed. This house, however, got grandfathered in, and it has 5 different units on it. And we were renting it out as an Airbnb. We had 5 different units that we could rent out, and it was doing okay, right? It was making some money, but it's seasonal. It was all winter heavy, and summer was really low, and then we'd pick back up in the fall again. So I took this property and I said, hey, I'm just going to buy this from the company. I'm going to take this property on and just keep it. This is one of those things that we could have sold. We thought about putting it on the market, and we had it on the market for a while, but no takers. This was in November, December, things like that. We put it on the market. Nobody's buying right now. Everyone's really conservative of what they're buying. So I just said, hey, look, I'm going to keep this property, and I'm going to restructure it to how do I maximize the revenue on this property? And I didn't think it was Airbnbs, because you have so many expenses that come with short-term rentals. You've got to have a cleaning crew. You've got to do maintenance on them. You have someone managing your guest relations, right? Answering all the text messages and all those things. And I didn't want to do that. So I said, hey, look, I think there's a better way to re-strategize the revenue of this fiveplex. And so I called the ski resort and I just said, hey, do you guys need housing by chance? This is back in November, still on the market. And they're like, yeah, we have all these international kids and we have nowhere to put them. And so we have to just put them wherever we can find spots. And I'm like, well, how many kids could we fit in this thing? And just by asking those questions, right? How can I maximize the revenue? They said we pay $150 per week per kid. And I started doing the math. Well, how many kids could we put in this property? And they're like, well, we can do 4.5 kids per bathroom. And I was like, well, we have 12 bathrooms. That's like 36 kids. Could we fit 36 kids in this thing? And they're like, yeah, we could do that. That would be amazing. I'm like, do you guys have 36 kids that would stay here? I'll cancel all of my Airbnb bookings if you guys will take this on a lease. And so we signed a $21,000 a month lease for these lifties, right? It's crazy. But I was able to increase the revenue. We doubled the revenue of what we were making in short-term Airbnbs by thinking creatively, right? What's the best use of this revenue in this property? And so I doubled my income. I increased the value significantly. We can refinance the property now, take all of my money out of it. So we'll do a cash out refi. I'll get paid. I'm going to make money on this deal. So I get the active income that I thought I would have gotten. And now I get to keep it long-term that will pay my debt service. We're working with them to sign a 3-year lease. They want it the whole year round. And I was like, why don't you just buy it? And they're like, well, we can't afford it. We didn't get a lot of snow. It's a bad thing, but we'll do a 3-year lease with you. So a 3-year lease, they're going to keep it the whole time. I have one tenant to deal with now. They take care of everything. They maintain it. They do bi-weekly walkthroughs of the property. They're taking care of this property for me. It's just like what you said, Roger, about building a business. I'm just building this business. It's already been built, but I don't have to do anything, right? I'm just buying a franchise, and the franchise is running itself. And so I was able to increase the value. I do a cash out refinance, so I get the active income. And now I'm going to get the passive income on it as well for at least another 3 years, and hopefully potentially longer than that, right? And that's what, to me, retiring wealthy and happy is all about. Is now I have time with my kids, that my money's working for me because I was able to think creatively and solve a problem. They had a problem. I had a problem. I wasn't making enough money on it. And they had a problem. They didn't have enough housing for their staff. So that's what you get paid for to do in this business, is to solve problems. The bigger problems you can solve, the bigger paychecks you can expect to get. And that was a really cool, eye-opening experience for me. And we've done that a lot through the way. Like, I've invested in syndications and apartment buildings and storage units and all of that other stuff. That's truly just passive income. I don't have to do anything for that. I've built the war chest, and I put that money towards how does my money make money? And that, to me, is the secret of retiring wealthy, is that your money is making money for you constantly, that I don't have to deal with tenants or toilets or anything like that. And I'm still continuing. I get to hang out with my kids. I get to spend time. It's a snow day today out of all days. My kids are home from school. And after this call, I'm going to go hang out with them. We'll probably go build a snowman and, do all that cool stuff. And I don't have to go work at corporate America. I don't have to work 80 hours a week and exchange my time for a paycheck. And so that to me is a really good case study. And hopefully your audience will appreciate that, right? That to me is how you build that long-term wealth and how you get that happiness.
Hey, Roger, this sounds a lot like one of our foundational episodes from a few weeks ago, where we talked specifically about building up income first, right? Finding a way to build a business. You build up a business first, and then you siphon off some of that money and you use it to provide long-term assets, and that's how you retire wealthy and happy. So, man, congratulations to you, Tyler, for unlocking at least a big share of the secret to being able to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And just having other mentors. I went out to lunch with a good friend. I think of all of ours. We know who he is, but Andy McFarland and I went out to lunch yesterday, and he said, the secret of wealth is really simple, and it's live on less and invest the rest. And he's lived by that motto, and he's one of a very wealthy and very successful person. And I try to think of that too, that as your income grows, your lifestyle doesn't have to, right? Sure, we can do fun things and go on vacation and all of that stuff. It's really important to do that. But if you can live on less and invest the rest, instead of taking all that money now, then that's the true secret, right, to living wealthy, is that you've got to live on less. And whatever the difference is, whether you're a mailman or a UPS guy or you're whatever it is, if you can live on less and invest the difference, that money is going to work for you, and it's going to continue to grow for you, so that you can have that time back when everybody else is still working, because your money has started to work for you.
That's excuse me. That's a great lead in to our next question, but what does the future hold for you? What are you going to do over the next 5 years?
Yeah. So for me, it's just about generating cash flow, right? That's the name of the game. If you want the word of the year for me, it's generating cash flow. I learned a lot of my friends are really struggling with this flipping business, right? Earl, you talked about how a lot of flippers are struggling right now, and they are. That's true. Facing bankruptcy and all those things. But if they would have had cash flow coming in, they could have been able to sustain life, right? Their family's taken care of. That's number one priority. Your needs, right? You need food, water, shelter, right? All of those things. Take care of your needs, and then enough cash flow to take care of your wants, and then enough cash flow to take care of your desires, your dreams. And so for me, it's all about how do I keep doing that? So I'm going to keep flipping houses. We're really good at it. There's no need for me to stray from that. So I'll keep flipping houses, but using that money to just build more long-term passive income for me. So how do I create that cash flow that I can cover my needs? How do I get that cash flow that I can cover my wants and needs? Now I have enough cash flow that I can travel and I can do things that I need. And then my dreams, right? How do I create enough cash flow that I can go on a beach for a month, or whatever it is that is to you, right? Whatever that dream is. And then a big part of that for me is to give back. How do I take that money, and I started a foundation called the 7-Figure Foundation. And in June, we're going to take 80 people and we're going to go build houses in Tijuana. Like that to me is that part of success, is that I can go down for a week and build houses in Tijuana with my kids and give them an experience. And that's really what it's about to me. So creating cash flow. So the future for me is to do exactly that. How do I get my time back that I can continue to grow and invest and to grow personally, but also to achieve those dreams that I've always wanted to do, right? So, yeah.
It sounds like, I know you're aware, Roger and I, one of our big businesses, we do multifamily, and that's kind of what we're known for. But the truth is we're kind of unique in that space, because I don't think we're a long-term hold company. We're really more about flipping apartments. And it sounds like that's kind of the direction that you're heading also, with the 5-plex and that. $40,000 a unit that you spend on that for renovations. That's I have properties that I don't spend $40,000 a unit just to buy the whole project. So that's quite a deal.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that to me is what it's about. Is if we flip bigger deals, right? You make more money on those deals. It's a bigger problem, and you can make more money on those. So definitely focusing more into that. I'm not really doing the 100 unit plus deals. Like those are for other people, and maybe we'll tap into those later. But I like those 11 plexes and those 12 plexes and kind of those smaller multifamily properties, because there's just not a lot of people are going after the 50 plus units, right? They want more doors, and door number is important to them. I don't care about how many doors I have. I just care about the cash flow that's coming in.
That sounds like Roger and our motto also is I don't brag about how many doors I have. I brag about how much I made on the last doors that we sold. So
there you go. Yep, exactly. I know people are always like, I have 1,000 doors. I'm like, yeah, well, you own 0.01% of 1,000 doors. Like, who cares, right? It doesn't matter that you own that.
Yeah,
Roger.
And people also will put their passive money in as a door ownership, and it's like, you have a loan that returns you an interest. But you don't own them. That's not, you don't like try and sell it without somebody else's permission, and you'll go to jail.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's funny. You hear people talk, well, I own this many doors, and even I flip this many houses. Like, who cares? Like, that number is irrelevant to me anyways. It doesn't matter how many houses you flip or doors you own. It's like, well, how are you doing financially? How is your wealth building? What's that scoreboard look like?
Yeah, I hear the number that the one that stuck in my head is John Maxim. And the first time I heard about him was he was flipping 47 houses. And I didn't think, how much money is that? I thought, how close to crazy is that guy? Like, that's like just so much drama. And you can only imagine, like, I like to
totally been there, done that.
Less than 4. And I feel like I can like sleep at night and everything else.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I love John. He's a great guy.
He's the best. He's so entertaining. Like,
for sure. His
little trip to Mount Kilimanjaro and getting stung by the sea urchin.
I know, it's wild.
We had Ben Kerr on our podcast, and he was ironically there at Mount Kilimanjaro like the same time or just before him. And they did a step count when Ben went up Mount Kilimanjaro, and it was like 165,000 steps. And so John Maxim got stung by a sea urchin, and he hit that foot, even though the doctor said don't do it. He hit that foot, which must have been like 82,500 times for this story, for being there. But yeah, that's fun. You've done a really good job of going through and just kind of answering, even though these questions were individuals, you've covered a lot of that. Earl, do you have anything else that you want to ask, or are we ready for the final 4?
Yeah, no, I think let's, first of all, we really appreciate your time, and you've been a wealth of information, and I'm sure that our viewers are going to get a lot out of what you've shared. I think Roger and I may even have a few things that we'll take to the drawing board with us also. So we really appreciate your time. We always have 4 questions that we like to end up with to bring this back a little personal. So the first one, do you have a favorite business book you want to share?
Oh man, I think about this question a lot, and people ask me a lot, and my answer always varies, but I still feel true to the best business book is the one that you implement. And so I used to be the guy that I want to read 52 books a year, right? And then I would read 52 books a year and never do anything that I learned. And the best business book is the book that you need right now, right? What do you need in your business right now and that you're going to implement? So for me, the most recent book is Atomic Habits that I read. I love Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Him and I spoke on stage at Flip Hacking Live a couple of years ago, and he's just a really cool dude. So, but I guess if I had to pick one, it would probably be How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was one of the very first business books that I read. And I still use a lot of those principles today in building. How do you get electricians and HVAC guys not to fight? It's by using those principles.
I read Dale Carnegie when I was on my mission years ago.
Yeah.
And it absolutely changed my life. So
for sure.
It was incredible.
And there's a long list, right, of all the books that I've read and business books, but none of them matter unless you're going to take action and implement those, for sure.
Yeah. What do you think brings you happiness?
Oh man, my boys. So I have 4 boys. We call it the testosterone zone at my house. It is all boy all the time. We just had a crazy weekend. We were in the Instacare twice. We had a broken foot. We had all the things, right? But I love hanging out with those boys. I love coaching their sports. I love hanging out with my family, with my wife and my kids. So in any aspect, whether it'll be a snow day today or going on a Disney cruise or whatever it is, that's to me brings me the most joy is hanging out with those guys.
We did a foundational episode on happiness just a little while ago, and unanimous. It was basically family relationships that there was the consensus. So, what do you think your future retirement looks like?
The plan is, so I'm 37. The plan is to be able to have enough cash to retire by the time I'm 40. And again, the same thing, live on less and invest the rest. So by the time in 3 to 5 years, I'm going to stretch it out to that I'd like to have enough income that meets all those things that I already talked about, right? That my needs, wants, and dreams are fulfilled. And then I can continue to work and grow, because retirement to me is not going and playing golf every day of the week and all of that. I don't want to do that. I want to keep working and keep growing. Financially, that's the goal for me, is how do I have enough income that I can provide for all of those things, wants, needs, dreams. And yeah, so that's kind of what retirement, I guess, it's always a loose word. It seems so far away for me. But to have enough money that I can get time back, that's the most important thing. So I can go hang out with my kids. You only get their childhood once, and I want to make sure that I'm a part of it.
And that is so cool. You're not quite 40 yet. And, we've got viewers out there that are probably in their mid 50s, even 60s, that are trying to figure out how they're going to make it to retirement. And you're standing here saying, hey, if you put your mind to it, you can do this at a really, really young age. And so I hope there's some young kids out there listening that go, I want to be just like Tyler. That's what I want to do. So
sure. Well, like even you look at it, there's a whole bunch of people. Colonel Sanders that started KFC was in his 60s, and J.C. Penney, like all those guys started later in life. But that doesn't, age isn't it? It's a limiting belief. If you're like, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm a male, I'm a female, I'm Hispanic, I'm white, I'm whatever, right? Like none of that matters. It's all a limiting belief that if you really say, hey, I want to be financially free, you can do that in a really short time as long as you're committed to getting there. And you've got to move a ton of dirt to find an ounce of gold, right? You have to put in the work to do that. But once you find that gold and you make it work for you, then your life gets a lot easier. But you have to grind. I hate that word and that terminology, but that's really what it is, right? It's that hustle, that you have that desire to win, and you're going to do whatever it takes to win. And if you have that at whatever age, if you're 60 or you're 25, if you have that desire to win and you're willing to do the work, then absolutely real estate works. And it's made more millionaires than any other industry. And it will work if you work.
Very, very good. Last question, and you've already answered part of this, but what do you think is the best way for people to give back?
However they can, in whatever means they have, whether it be the widow's mite, and that's what you have, and that's what you give, then give that. So many ways that you can give back your time doing this podcast. I'm not getting paid for this, but I feel like it's a way that I can give back, that I have time and I can give it. Financially giving, right? We have a foundation. If you want to go build houses in Tijuana, then do that. Use your skill sets to do good. And it's always doing good and serving people and giving back is always a two-way street, that you receive just as much when you give as when you get, I feel like. And so when we go to Mexico, I probably get more out of that trip than the people we're building houses for, because it's a two-way street. And it doesn't matter what you give or how you give, but you read that book, The Go-Giver, right? I like to live by a lot of those principles, that I try and be a go-giver and give back and give my time and my talents, talents, and treasure, I think is what they say in that book, right? So how do you give your time, your talents, and your treasure? Well, for me, it's going to Tijuana and building houses, or we did it in the Dominican Republic. We did it in Cancun last year. I can give all three of those things. I can give my time, my treasure, and my talent, and in any form or any way. And so for people giving back, it's always that hand up, right? Someone's going to reach down to give you the hand up, and you've got to turn around and do the same thing. And I've had that happen in my life. I've had a lot of mentors that I've really looked up to that have helped me excel to where I'm at. And at the same time, I want to reach out to people and your listeners, which is what you guys are doing now, is you're turning around and giving that hand to bring someone else up. And that's really what it's all about to me, is giving back. So a long answer to your question, but any way that you can, I promise you'll always be gratified and blessed by it.
I'm guessing
Go ahead, Roger.
I'm guessing last year when you did it's 2 years ago now, when you did the Christmas house, I donated to the Venmo and then I got a refund back. I'm guessing you oversubscribed and got more money than you needed.
Yeah, potentially. I have no idea.
I was like,
I don't remember
what happened.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but.
Well, man, we really appreciate your time. It's been absolutely inspirational and really a pleasure to get to know a little bit more about what you're doing to build up your family life and your business and the things that you're doing to move forward and prepare for retirement. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it. We again, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. Appreciate both of you guys. I look up to, admire, and respect both of you guys, what you're doing, this podcast, reaching out, stuff you guys are doing in multifamily is awesome. But if you guys, any of your listeners want to get a hold of me, I'm an open book. Please feel free to find me on Facebook, Utah House Flip on Facebook, or Tyler Jensen on Facebook. And look at our mastermind as well as 7-Figure Flipping. If you want to be a part of a community that can help people and really understand real estate, 7-Figure Flipping is a great way to do that. 7-Figure Foundation is our charity arm, if you will, our foundation that we can help people and serve people. So if you feel any inclined to donate that time, treasure, or talent, we'd love to have it as part of our foundation to help single moms here locally, domestically, or to go build houses internationally. We'd love for you guys to be that as well. So again, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Hopefully I gave some good content. Hopefully your listeners got something out of this and they feel inspired that they can do it. So thank you again.
Yep. And we'll put all that information in the show notes so that people can see it, so they can reach out and contact you and follow you. Awesome. I want to thank everybody for joining us, especially Tyler Jensen. That's it for today's podcast. Retire Wealthy and Happy. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Hope you got value from this episode. And if you have a minute, then take the time to leave an honest written review for the podcast, because we take those reviews seriously and it'll help us serve you better on the next episodes. And most importantly, be sure to start taking action so you can control your financial future today.